Whacked Out Wrestling, now having 100% more actual progress of the week in wrestling. Hello, everybody. This is Whacked Out Wrestling again, and we're still waiting on the others on it. Hopefully, Joe will be here, and Roche is taking a personal week this week, so hopefully he'll be feeling better next week on it. I am your host, Thomas S.K. Green, and with me, as always, is Prince Moxley Lopez. And we've got a very big week of wrestling this week. And the start of it would be you have the one wrestling awards that somehow mean the most and have the least value to anyone in it, the Wrestling Observer Awards. Not sure if they have the award for fat shaming a professional wrestler or that has claiming a wrestler doesn't have cancer. But the awards for this year would be Lou Thesz Ric Flair Award for Wrestler of the Year would go to, of course, Kenny Omega because it's the Wrestling Observer. But in a positive surprising, apparently the highest a non-Japanese woman's ever finished in that award happened when Becky Lynch finished 5th. Most Outstanding Wrestler, again, Kenny Omega because it's the Observer. Johnny Gargano was the highest placed wrestler under a WWE contract at 7th, and Daniel Bryan was the best at 11th, who's on the main roster. Tag Team of the Year for the 5th straight year is the Young Bucks. Highest WWE contracted workers were Mustache Mountain, and the Usos were the highest main roster at 9.
Based on these being Wrestling Observer Awards. No surprises so far.
Yeah. The best on interviews, and this is the first time we got an actual upset. Conor McGregor is not best on interviews. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Daniel Bryan, best in interviews. Highest ranking New Japan worker, Juice Robinson. So even the
that lets you know right there.
Yeah. Buck Knuckle is the best in New Japan on interviews. And you wonder why New Japan is a niche market. Promotion of the Year, New Japan for the 7th straight year. WWE finishes 2nd, Ring of Honor finishes 3rd, CMLL 4th, and OTT finishes 5th. This will be important later on. Best Weekly TV Show, NXT gets the victory on this one. New Japan on Access is 3rd, and in the fuck the Observer moment, Being the Elite is 2nd.
That doesn't even make sense, man. It just...
Yeah, because really, yes, it's technically a weekly TV show, but you have the problem that they don't allow the Cruiserweight Classic and Mae Young Classic, which are very good limited series shows each year, but they allow a funny YouTube series. That just does not work.
Yeah, that's just... And again, you have to go back to... This is voted on by Wrestling Observer subscribers, and it shows.
Yeah. The match of the year, Omega versus Okada at Dominion, because it is Wrestling Observer.
Yeah.
And
sometimes they get it right.
Yeah. Highest ranking NXT one in a surprise was Gargano Almas at TakeOver Philly, which was a pleasant surprise because the Gargano Ciampa series was so good, and it would basically be a wash over which one's better. Top main roster match was 12th for Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch at Evolution. United States Canada MVP. First place, Kenny Omega doesn't win, even though he could possibly be valuable. Yes, we can. U.S. Canada MVP. Top 5, Omega finishes 2nd. Gargano, Daniel Bryan, and Becky Lynch, top 5. Japanese MVP, of course, is Kenny Omega. The Mexico MVP, L.A. Park after having a great year to redeem himself in this one and get back into the swing of things. The Europe MVP, coming up next on stage, put your hands together for Walter. And the non-heavyweight MVP of the year would be Will Ospreay, highest ranking NXT person Johnny Gargano at 4, and highest ranking main roster is Buddy Murphy at 5, which all makes perfect sense on it. The women's wrestling MVP of the year, Becky Lynch, of course, for it. Feud of the year was another upset, Gargano Ciampa. Highest ranking New Japan feud was Tanahashi versus Okada or Omega versus Cody. Even though we've seen Omega versus Cody, and if you put that in an American promotion, it would be Bayley versus Sasha Banks. Change my mind, people. Most improved in the ring, Adam Page is number 1. Highest ranking NXT Velveteen Dream, and highest ranking main roster Buddy Murphy. The most charismatic in the world, Tetsuya Naito, highest ranking WWE Becky Lynch. Once again, the Bryan Danielson Award for Best Technical Wrestler was not won by Bryan Danielson. Zack Sabre took the award. Daniel Bryan finished second. The Bruiser Brody Memorial Award for Best Brawler was given to Tomohiro Ishii. Highest ranking WWE contracted worker was Walter at 5th. The Best Flying Wrestler was Will Ospreay, Ricochet finishing second for highest WWE contracted. The most overrated, which is, as they say, means overpushed in this one. Number 1, Baron Corbin. Number 2, Nia Jax. Number 3, Brock Lesnar. Number 4, Braun Strowman. And number 5, Dean Ambrose. So
it's funny how these awards, when it's something good, lean heavily to a certain thing, but when we start talking about overrated, they're all WWE talent.
yeah, and that's
Like,
honestly,
there's no way New Japan over pushes somebody. No, can't have that.
well, honestly, if you think about it, there's not too many people that New Japan does have that's a particularly bad push. I mean, if you think of all the punching bags in New Japan that people mock, guys like Yoshihashi or guys like Lord Taichi, they're joke guys. They're low carders. They aren't getting pushed that much. So
True, but even going it's my joke may have failed there, but
well,
there's other categories where WWE performers aren't brought up at all, or they're double digits in the list. But when
yeah.
it comes to let's shit on the WWE, the top 5 under this category are all WWE.
Well, on OnePlus, you also have the most underrated, which is most underpushed people in it, and it is all WWE. Number 1, Finn Balor. Number 2, Gran Metalik. Number 3, Andrade Cien Almas. And number 4 and 5 are people who did not work for New Japan at one point. Chad Gable and the Revival. Although the Revival have hinted they may want to go to AEW, so it kind of counts there. The Rookie of the Year in pro wrestling is as of everywhere else, Ronda Rousey. Number 2, Utami Hayashi Shita. Number 3, Brian Pillman Jr. And number 4 was a tie between Casey Catanzaro and Marco Stunt. All of which were pretty fair choices for it.
If you take Ronda out of that list and move everybody else up a notch, I completely agree with it.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. I haven't heard much of Hayami Shida yet, so. But yes, does seem to work on it. Though we remind you on this one, as Eric Stevens said, he beat Joe Doring for 2007 Rookie of the Year. So keep that in mind. Best non-wrestler in the company, and it's pretty much all WWE on it. Paul Heyman, number one, even though he's clearly lost his fastball. But he's
How?
still Paul Heyman.
How?
He still was in ECW, so he's number one.
Excuse me.
Highest ranking non WWE person, Selena De La Renta at number three.
De La Renta.
Hmm?
Sorry.
No problem. And it does perfectly work because if you've seen MLW, she absolutely deserves the award. So,
I
best.
think she'd. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, you can go.
No,
Yep.
go ahead. Seriously.
Oh, okay. Best television announcer. And you won't believe this, but it's mostly just New Japan. Kevin Kelly, Mauro Ranallo, Nigel McGuinness, Don Callis, and Chris Charlton, which I'm sorry, I have to shoot here. You should be ashamed of yourself. Kevin Kelly and Chris Charlton are not a good announce team. Kelly was fine for a little bit, and he's at least solid but unspectacular. But Chris Charlton is an incredibly knowledgeable person. He's incredibly good at what he does, but the guy just doesn't have the voice to be an announcer. And I'm speaking with experience. I know I can have a pretty nasally voice that makes me sound like Emo Phillips on these ones. I know how big my Rhode Island accent is, but I can tell right from there. Chris Charlton's got too soft a voice, too whiny a voice. He sounds like what I'm doing when I'm mocking people whining on stuff like this. That
Yeah,
is not
he
a
does.
good announcer. The only reason he got on the top five is because he's in New Japan. If you had him doing the research for someone with a better voice, that would be an amazing announce team, but Charlton just doesn't have it. The worst
Since
television.
Connor's on the list, I'm sure he's gonna read this somewhere. And I just want the Connor of who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
Talking about Charlton.
Mm-hmm. Worst
Excuse me.
television announcer. Jonathan Coachman, which I could buy this one. The word of the week of the hour is Coachman should have stayed in ESPN or Golf Channel. And of course, Michael Cole, Renee Young, Corey Graves, Buck Raw for 2 through 4, and Lanny Poffo at 5. The best major wrestling show of the year. Of course, Dominion. Highest NXT show, Takeover New Orleans, and highest is WWE pay-per-view, Evolution at 6. Biggest shock, All In was only 4th.
Damn, I can't believe they voted Evolution sixth.
Yeah. Well, it's weird on this one where I think that,
That and the coupled with like you said, um, all in, because you would think everybody would vote for that. Just reasons,
mhm,
but yeah, those two are surprisingly low.
yeah, and that's honestly weird because if you're ever going to do something as the Dave Meltzer has a prison tattoo saying "owned by the elite" on his ass, at least go with All In. It was a good show. It would be perfect.
Yeah.
Romulant is number one.
What was third?
Let me, third was
Oh, sorry.
Takeover New Orleans. Second was
Okay.
Wrestle Kingdom, and fifth was DDT Peter Pan.
Ah.
Worst major wrestling show. Of
Oh
course,
God.
was Crown Jewel. And that was honestly a surprise because, like I said, when with our year-end awards, it was the Crown Jewel Award for worst show in the of the year in pro wrestling, and the one show that makes you feel like you're pathetic for liking wrestling as Crown Jewel did, and the winner was number 2, Backlash. The best wrestling maneuver of the year was One Winged Angel, of course, and he also had the V trigger at 5th. In between, you had the Rainmaker, the Stormbreaker, and Orienteering with Napalm Death. Most disgusting promotional tactic, and there were only 3 votes apparently. Number 3, using Reigns' leukemia in the Dean Ambrose turn, which was surprising because I thought Meltzer didn't think Reigns had leukemia. Number 2, Drake Maverick peeing. I repeat, they thought that Drake Maverick peeing pants was more disgusting than mocking a man's cancer. Don't they realize that all the cool kids pee their pants on it?
I'm the Miles Davis.
Yes. And number 1 was Saudi Arabia. Just Saudi Arabia. The worst TV show of the year. Raw, Impact, Lucha Underground, AAA, and Ring Warriors. So Ring Warriors has been sucking at a very high level this year. Good show for them. One day they may suck at the level that Raw sucks each week. The worst match of the year? You're not going to believe it, but there's no New Japan matches on this list. And of course, the worst match of the year was Lemon Party, the match from Super Showdown. Yes, it's a fair thing to claim for Undertaker and Kane versus Michaels and Triple H because, like Lemon Party, it's 4 old men having a circle jerk and no one wants to see it. The worst feud of the year, Sasha Banks versus Bayley. And I remind you once again, Kenny Omega versus Cody was on the top 5, even though that feud was basically, I don't like you. I want to be in charge now. I want to be in charge now. I don't like your friend. I don't like your friend. Oh, whatever.
Basically,
let's be allies again. Friends, friends. It was the same feud.
Yeah, it was identically the same. Like, a cool kid has a tree house in the neighborhood, and like, okay, this person's, always welcome in my tree house, my clubhouse. Well, no, I don't like you anymore. You took my pencil at school. So we're gonna fight about it. Then, oh, maybe it was somebody else that took my pencil at school, so we're cool now. They're identical.
Yeah. In both cases, you never got a blow-off match for it. And they ended up smiling and being friends again. That's not a good look on this one. I could at least buy Zayn versus Lashley on it was terrible of the, I am a family man. I love my sisters. Oh, really? You love your sisters? I think you're lying there. I don't think you really love your sisters. Show me that you're lying. Yeah. Proving it.
I was about to say, prove it. Prove it. You love them, prove it.
Yeah.
Prove it right now.
Worst promotion. WWE, of course. We remind you they were second for best promotion. Because Wrestling Observer fans don't even know anymore. And we remind you they went above UFC, which was UFC, Lucha Underground for dying and keeping all their people under contract from beyond the grave in perpetuity, Impact for being Impact, and AAA for being AAA. The best booker, Nato, of course. Paul
Of
Levesque is
course.
number two. Jun Akiyama's number three. Joey Janela, surprisingly, at number four, and Sanshiro Takagi at number five. Promoter of the year, Takaaki Kidani, Paul Levesque, Cody and the Young Bucks, Harold Mage, and Dana White. Best gimmick is it's a WWE gimmick, Velveteen Dream, and second being Becky Lynch, third being Daniel Bryan, fourth being PCO, and fifth being Tommaso Ciampa. Which is surprising because I don't think PCO actually has a gimmick except he's in his 50s and he will let you chop him until his chest turns black.
I was about to say, one of these does not belong. And that I was going to bring that up about PCO.
Yes. And the worst gimmick of the year, number 5, Nia Jax, the Face Breaker. Number 4, Shane McMahon. Number 3, Lucha House Party. Number 2, Drake Maverick as Authors of Pain manager, which I do seem to like a bit more because it doesn't just handle the he peed his pants and goes to the Drake Maverick just looked like the biggest weenie on the planet in the Authors of Pain outfit. Then number
Seriously.
1, Constable Corbin. That was the Wrestling Observer Awards for the year, so hopefully we can, by this time next year, we won't have to care about what Dave Meltzer thinks.
We haven't already done that?
People still somehow tend to care about him, so. But that goes into Fastlane this coming up this year, and we have the full results here. In the pre-show, we had The New Day defeating Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev, which made absolute sense there. And during this one, they also had Kofi Kingston called away from this match in order to have a unique opportunity.
Okay, Dario Quota.
In the first match on the card, we had the Usos defeat The Miz and Shane McMahon, and honestly, it made sense on it. The Usos got the victory, and in the shocking swerve on this one that no one could have seen coming, Shane McMahon actually gets to be the bad guy, which also makes it even more shocking on this one. The Miz is a good guy, and he's actually good at it. I never thought I would say those words.
He is. He's been face before in that one face turn. Like, oh boy, this is not working well.
Yeah.
This time, it's already working better than it did last time before they abandoned it and made him back to a hill. But
Yeah. And it's honestly weird why it didn't work well on it. I mean, everything you'd want for a face turn on this one. Guy clearly loves the business. He just seems like a really good guy, all things considered, on it. And if he didn't like it, he would have been long gone years ago, but clearly goes through on it. He's got everything you want just in his backstory to be a good baby face, but
yes,
just never.
especially now with the. We'll get to it later with somebody else, but with having a family and having kids and stuff, like that's just a natural. Like, not saying you can't be a good heel and outside of wrestling but they're actually doing things on screen with the whole Mrs. and Ms. TV show and stuff of
Yeah.
presenting him, and then with his dad and stuff. Like, this time it's working a lot better than it did last time.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it's because it's not just the fact that before you felt like he was just a phony or was just using it for a movie career, but now people
Yeah.
have realized that, yeah, he's in it for the long haul. he's serious about this, and he's just a good
One one of the best things from this match is the memes that have come out from because they were in Cleveland, Mrs. hometown, and Mrs. Dad is ringside again, and the
dude.
memes that have come out saying that Mrs. Dad and Bruce Pritchard, like, why was Bruce Pritchard in disguise ringside? Because they do kind of resemble each other.
Well, you know, but
All white people look alike.
yeah. But honestly, it was weird if it was a Cleveland show that that they didn't have Bobby Lashley's friend. He does hang out with Odell Beckham Jr., right?
Oh Lord.
Mhm.
Oh Lord.
Mhm.
Greeny, greeny, greeny.
Yes. Well, in defense, I would say that Beckham's probably one of those players I would like if he was on the Patriots, and everybody else in the world would be mocking him by claiming he's just like Leo Rush. And this next
Oh,
match, you had
go
the
ahead.
SmackDown Women's Championship, which had the great buildup of fuck all as, and you have the great possible main event match to prove Mandy Rose belongs in this opportunity against Asuka. She promptly proceeds to lose by slipping on a banana peel. No, literally.
Yeah, basically that's um hopefully that this is leading the match sucked of course, but hopefully this is leading to a Sonya Deville. Um they tried this a little bit already, but hopefully we just get a Sonya Deville parting ways with Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville vying for the championship down the road. WrestleMania or
Honestly, I'd like it, but at the same time, I'm worried that it would be the same problem that's going on with the SmackDown Women's Division, where Sonya Deville is probably the number one heel on the company, which is kind of pathetic if you think about it that way.
yeah, that's
'Cause Charlotte and
hadn't crossed my
Becky
mind, but
Raw, and then you still have the same. Okay, the top names on Raw: Asuka babyface, Naomi babyface, Carmella babyface. Sonya Deville is number one, and Mandy Rose depends. Who do you think is higher on the totem pole? Her or the Iconics? And honestly, that just doesn't seem to click well on it. Where you need some top heels on this in this company, and all four of the top heels on it just don't have top heel potential at this point today.
right,
They've got loads of potential. I think any one of them could be a top heel if they got the reps for it. But right now, Sonya's got the short straw to be top heel on SmackDown, and she turning her face right now would be great. She'd probably be a very good face, but it would give the same problem SmackDown's had for 2 years.
too many faces and enough heels.
Not just too many faces, not enough heels, but all it's so top heavy basically.
Oh, well,
Where
that too, but yeah,
yeah, yeah, because if anything, there's too many heels and not enough faces. It's just that none of the heels
I
matter.
I don't word good, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
But
of course. But ultimately, it would be best if they just did some switches, like do the risky thing and keep Charlotte on SmackDown, so you have at least one heel who could build the show around and have some cost-effective building blocks. Because if Fire and Desire go through this without the championship, they should be on Raw. Same with the Iconics, who should be on there, and just build the Raw Women's Division around tag teams. But it won't help the same thing unless you have some heels going to SmackDown as well.
right, and
Yeah.
I will voice Metal Matt here for a second. If they would just like let the Iconics win
Mm-hmm.
every so often, or at least put them on TV,
Mm-hmm.
and look credible. More so Peyton and Billy. Sorry, just my feelings. Like it's there. They haven't done anything with them. I think the other day they've had I forget how many matches, but somebody looked at I think cage match and how many matches they've had on TV, and they've lost all of them except for one or two, and we're talking tag and singles.
Yeah.
Like,
Ultimately, that's got to be a question where you need to do something there, but it's weird because it's clear something's happening. And for the last year, it was kind of a wash because their biggest weakness was that they're a tag team. And
yes,
as we know in singles wrestling, tag team wrestlers are singles jobbers, and that just is what it is.
right. That's a pretty much known thing. That's just how it works.
Yeah, and we're seeing that they're starting to get some buzz just on their outside of the ring shenanigans on it, and they and it's very likely that in the tag division they have to be a big part of it. So that does help things a lot there. Meanwhile, speaking of tag team specialists, we go backstage where Kofi Kingston is kept waiting for an hour, and then Vince says, "Oh yeah, it's going to be a triple threat match. Your match is next." And then tells him, "Nope, not that one. But Biggie and Xavier are banned from ringside, and you have a match with the Bar." And this just, well, you got to expect that this is a plus that they're actually going with how the tea leaves are going and reading it and going that way. They didn't have to
Right.
be forced to do it this time. And yes,
Yeah.
maybe Big Ears or Mustafa Ali would be better in the role, but the fans made it clear on this show they wanted Kofi Kingston. And I was a little
To
wary with the Kevin Owens push and people accepting it because I thought that if people truly wanted Kofi Kingston, then Kevin Owens would have been a heel for taking that spot, like Charlotte Flair was a heel for taking Becky Lynch's spot.
to elaborate just a little bit with the announcement, and um, then we get the triple threat, and Kofi comes out, and then the dude with headset comes over to the referee, and he's talking to somebody backstage, and we're like, now, like, what are we doing? What's going on? And that's how we end up. It's not for the WWE Championship. It is a triple threat. In fact, it's going to be a handicap match. The Bar versus Kofi, and I get it. Um, but they did get us hyped up like earlier in the show, like, oh, they're putting Kofi in. They're gonna put Kofi in,
Yeah.
and then we get this, and eh.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing
Although,
that really came out of this, like, it pretty bad match. We got two things out of it, which is Kofi getting more support, and I guess to a degree, the Bar have heat again. I
yeah,
guess.
yeah,
I mean,
honestly,
they
it does have some benefits on it, but it does have its purpose. So at least we can pretty much bet we're going to get what we want at WrestleMania. So it doesn't matter for this one.
yeah.
And I will say one thing that's gone on without the results on it was Elias was very good as a Greek chorus for everything bad that happened on this show and just
Oh,
twisting the knife for it.
yes.
That was
Oh,
very
Elias is,
cool.
he did very well. How many segments did he end up getting? Four or five?
Yeah, and I think it was after every bad thing, like Usos,
Yeah, I was.
Kane, Bar, Kofi, and I believe after Lynch, Flair. So
Yeah. And he nailed it every time, like he always does. Like
yeah,
I would have liked to have seen him been a face a little longer, but I get why like
well,
it went from face right back to heel. Like I understand that, but man, um, a friend of ours, um, Adam Rice, like all his segments were basically digs on Adam.
yes. Well, it was still a case where with Elias, it was more the fact that the guy's the modern day honky tonk man, and I mean that as the highest praise possible. And you don't want to see honky tonk man as a good guy, and
Right.
so I could see why
I
the Prince turn dropped that one because you don't want to see a guy like Elias singing songs and having fun with the WWE universe. You want to see
I'll
this
take it.
guy running them down.
I'll take it a step further. Modern day honky tonk man, but Elias, and we're not talking like in ring or just the ability he has to work the crowd kind of thing. Um, to me, honky tonk or Elias is a little better at it than honky tonk.
I could absolutely see that as well because Elias isn't that great a wrestler, but he's good enough to hold his own. And Honky
Like,
Tonk Man was never really the greatest wrestler in the world, so
and Elias can actually play the guitar and hold a tune. It's just like I, just my opinion. I think he's
yeah,
is the modern day honky tonk man, but doing it better than honky tonk man did.
exactly. And then you go for the Raw Tag Team Championship as you have Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, Aleister Black and Ricochet, and the Revival. And this one was just a very good match on it as the tag team revolution continues. At least that's what it seems to be when they just have throw NXT alumni in and have them wrestle really good matches.
Right.
And it just it's a surprise that Black and Ricochet lost, but at the same time, you know that Black and Ricochet is a secondary tag team that was a last minute choice when I don't even know what you can use as the tag team name as the portmanteau for them. Like at least with Rude and Gable, everyone accepts them as Glorious Alpha, or with Carmella and Naomi, it was Fabulous Glow. What do you use with Black and Ricochet? Black
I saw
Prince
one
Puma?
Blackishay.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a couple. None of them have been really great, but
Mm-hmm.
Blackishay like a takeoff of Donkashay.
Yeah.
But nothing that really.
Mm-hmm.
And we could like if somebody actually sat down and thought about it, outside of their name, putting their names together, just what they do, like it's there, and once somebody figures it out, like, oh yeah,
Yeah, like I said, the best I can think
excuse
of is the Black Prince Puma or stuff like that.
me.
But it's something where it's not just an odd couple tag team, but you can't really think of a reason why Aleister Black and Ricochet would even be friends or even hang out with each other. And not even like a Riot Squad. Yeah, Liv Morgan's a preppy girl, and Ruby Riot's a punk, and Sarah Logan's a badass, but they're all outcasts. It's like
Yeah, that's what I was
nothing
gonna say.
really
They're
brings
at
Black
least they're like
and together.
at least with the Riot Squad, you have three outcasts or misfits that, since they're outcasts or misfits that um, came together. Like nobody else likes us, we like each other.
Yeah,
It's
and
not that.
that makes some sense on it. But with Black and Ricochet, it's like oil and water somehow. Both good wrestlers, but as a tag team, it just doesn't really work.
Right. And I don't know how. I like them as a tag team, and of course, like you said, they're good wrestlers. Like they entertain the shit out of me. I love both of them, but especially with the entrances where you have the one and only, and then you have Tommy Ann or Alistair's entrance, and
Yeah.
Like even
And
their
who
entrances, like there's no cohesion as far as like we're a team. Like they're literally saying these are just two people we randomly put together, and
Mhm. Yeah, and the worst part is they could probably get some cohesion with that entrance. Like, for instance, that entrance with Aleister Black laying prone and rising up on it. We
yeah.
all know Ricochet could make that jump. Like, there's
I was about to say the same thing. I
yeah,
was having the same idea. Have Ricochet flip off that motherfucker as Tommy or Alistair, is rising up,
yes, that would
and
be
have
so
Ricochet.
cool. Like, we know he could do it. We saw basically the same thing in the Ricochet Velveteen Team Dream standoff. So just do something like that.
Yeah, have him come out because all we've got so far is Ricochet's already in the ring by the time Tommy's. I keep calling him Tommy, and I will. Sorry. Um, while Alistair's music hits and his entrance starts, like Ricochet's already either at or in the ring,
Yep. Yeah, and
which
that.
works for like certain scenarios, but not if you're going to keep them as a tag team. Like when they put Cesaro with Sheamus
Mm-hmm,
after the best out of seven, they first came out to their own theme.
mm-hmm,
Then we got the mashup of themes and them coming out together. Where you truly, it's still both of their themes. Cesaro starts off and then Sheamus, but they come out together. Like,
mm-hmm,
fix that quick, please, if you're going to keep them as a tag team.
mm-hmm. Well, honestly, it's even their themes doesn't seem like they work that well if you mashed them up on it because
You
the
can't,
one
yeah, on,
and only. No one is ever truly good. No one is
yeah,
ever truly evil. Those two
yeah.
can't really click together.
Mention their two themes up wouldn't work. You'd basically have to do a completely new one, but
Mm-hmm.
some where they're at least, I don't know, some kind of
Yep.
glue to.
Mm-hmm. And even in NXT, where they actually try to book people on this one, they can't even think of a good reason to say, okay, this is why Aleister Black and Ricochet form a tag team. And sometimes you have stuff like on the main roster, you'd have cases like Cesaro and Sheamus or Fandango and Tyler Breeze who team up a couple times, realize, hey, I like you. I like you too. Maybe we should do this. Yeah, that works for me. And it's
Yeah,
off to the races. And that's all
that
you
and I might not like you, but I respect you, and you're a hell of a worker, and we can, two is better than one. Like, in many different ways they could go about it, but shit, give us. We still don't know why they're, and kayfabe and storyline. Like, why is Black with Ricochet?
Yeah. And if the best example you can give us is they were both just NXT superstars, that's not a really good reason.
Yeah, that's like the laziest, poorest reason. Well, they used to be here and came. They just happened to get to the arena at the same time, and we said, "Hey, you and you're a tag team." Like,
Yeah.
fuck
At
off
least
with that.
at least when they tried that with Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, it was there where Gable liked Roode's theme song and eventually started using it in his robes for himself, and now they feel like a real tag team.
That was hilarious when they came out and they were both and I'm referring to Rude and Gable, and they both had the spin
Mm-hmm.
tables,
Yeah.
matching and like okay, and see, and you and I together have discussed a lot, and we have discussed a lot in forums of how tag team works. It That's all it takes is that little
Mm-hmm.
thing. We don't need necessarily a clever name but being in unison with each other and that kind of when Gable started wearing the robe and doing the entrance together with Rude and the little, I'm doing my hands like you can see, uh,
Hmm.
Gloria, like those little things
Yeah,
don't make it seem so random like Ricochet and or Black.
exactly. And Bailey and Sasha Banks is a good example of it. Bailey and Sasha Banks' characters are complete opposites in kayfabe. We know they have a long-standing friendship and relationship from their time in NXT in kayfabe as well as in real life, but those two people are polar opposite personalities. But they still feel like a real tag team. It's not like we're asking
Yes.
for much on it. Just dress alike, have a tag finisher, have a name. That's all I really need. Then I'll accept you as a tag team.
Right, and this is where it works, where they still have their own entrance music,
Mm-hmm.
but they gave us a name, Boston Hug Connection, and it's that. Like, okay, we know they're a team.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's um, simplistic. It simplified a little bit for us. I'm not saying like we're dumb or anything, but
Yeah.
um, because we're not. That's the problem. Is we might overthink some things, but just they have a tag team name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
they can come out to different themes,
Yep.
but we know we have the Boston Hug connection.
Yeah. And even if it
Anyway,
is
sorry.
simplifying on it, it just makes sense to just give us some reasons in kayfabe that these people think, oh yeah, we're going to put our focus on being a good tag team now. Make it look like they're putting in the effort to become a good tag team, and they're not just, I'm a good singles wrestler. I'm a good singles.
Dr. Shelby is the greatest counselor in the history of the world.
Exactly.
Because
That really helps on it. Where if it does lead to Bailey and Sasha Banks in the main event of WrestleMania 2, then he will have worked. So, and then for
um,
you, what?
go ahead.
No, you can
Oh,
go.
go, I was just I don't really like triple threat tag team matches, but this one was good.
Yeah, and that's really the good thing on it. Where one of the pluses of this new era on it, where which isn't just you're not being nice, you just put on a nice sweater, is that they've made it clear they're going to try and make tag team wrestling mean something again, and that's
Yes.
what we and that's what people want. With AEW, they have those wolves at their gate saying you will make tag team wrestling mean something, and they're trying to do it.
What's next? U.S. title match.
U.S. title: Samoa Joe, Andrade, R-Truth, and Rey Mysterio. And this was surprising on it because if you're doing it anyway, wouldn't you do this match from SmackDown on this one to give R-Truth one more match with his childhood hero John Cena?
And a callback this on the pre-show. This Ray versus Andrade was supposed to be the pre-show match, and Samoa versus shoot, help me out. Um,
Joe
Truth.
and Truth weren't on the card at all.
That's right. And they ended up making. That's why we got the tag team match
Hmm.
on the pre-show, and they ended up making this a fatal four-way, tying back into the new era, give the people what they want stuff.
Yeah, and honestly, it
Um,
doesn't work on it because if this is a part of a multi-man match at WrestleMania, so be it on it. You get everything that goes well on it, where Andrade and Mysterio get their bow at Mania. Samoa Joe gets to go in as a champion. R-Truth gets rewarded for being one of the unsung heroes of SmackDown all year, so works for me.
yeah, I wouldn't mind if they rehash this match, if
Hmm.
that's what you're getting at. I wouldn't mind at
Yeah.
all if they redid this at Mania. And I know that people, well, we've seen it too much. They did that last pay per view. I don't care. This match was good, And for the reasons you just mentioned of the four individual competitors,
hmm
like, give it to them. And
Yeah.
don't make it a ladder match or anything. Just make it a fatal four-way like they did here.
Mhm.
And I'm
Well,
fine with
very
it.
least it is the plus that if it was a ladder match, it could probably be good because we know Mysterio and Andrade would be awesome in a ladder match. We know
Well,
Joe
true.
would be awesome in a ladder match. And our
Let
truth,
me reword what I was trying to say
yeah,
since the mid card titles usually get the stip. If
yeah,
it's a ladder match, fine, but don't it doesn't have to be. You
yeah.
can legit run this match again,
hmm Yeah, and it's also
and
better because I don't think they have the guts to do the Andrade versus Mysterio mask versus hair stipulation to really end it. So, which is both a necessary thing because on the one hand, Rey Mysterio can never lose the mask again. He just can't. And on the other one, Andrade has fantastic hair. Really, you can see why Charlotte wants this dude. The dude has hair that is amazing.
as a bald man, I will definitely say I'm super jealous.
Yes,
He does have a gorgeous mane.
yeah, and
But yeah, go
that's
ahead.
one of the weaknesses with Lucha. How come it's always the handsome motherfuckers who are wearing the masks?
That's if Andrade would have come up with the La Sombra or the La Sombra mask. Like then, since you brought up the hair versus mask thing, like if he was still wearing the mask, like do a mask versus match,
Yeah.
and La Sombra or Andrade loses, and we get to see that gorgeous, gorgeous hair.
hmm Yeah. And it's even more on that one because the worst part is that CMLL did the mask versus mask match before Andrade left for WWE, so they couldn't even do
Yeah.
it that way.
Well, I know, but well, WCW took Ray's mask off,
Yeah. But
so
there's also a Lucha Libre rule where you can put the mask back on in 7 years.
sir,
hmm
when you're talking about WWE, they do not consider lucha libre rules.
No, actually, the WWE did care about the Lucha Libre rules. When in
Um,
Mexico, Rey Mysterio would wear the chainmail like he was doing in AAA appearances during 2001 and 2002, and he didn't officially put the mask back on until 2006. And it is slightly different from his mask in WCW.
well, Ray is a different example. Ray, I forget. I'm not gonna elongate the podcast by going into it, but like Ray pleaded, not pleaded, but
Yeah, I think.
and
Mhm.
Andrade might feel the same. But as far as just the umbrella of lucha libre rules,
Mhm.
um, each competitor, like Andrade or Ray, if they stand firm on something, that's one thing. But WWE as an umbrella gives zero fucks about lucha libre rules.
Yeah, but that also helps why we're not seeing the mask on it because if anyone's going to give no fucks about lucha libre rules, wouldn't it be the guy who instituted Los?
True,
Mhm.
true.
So then you go with the women's tag titles of Boston Hug Connection against Nia Jax and Tamina, and then you have the big problem that this just wasn't supposed to happen. And this isn't going against Nia Jax on the, but she broke my Becky's face stuff on this one, but rather Nia Jax should have been the one fighting Becky Lynch at this one for Becky to get into the triple threat match in the first place. At least then it would have made perfect sense. Just having Nia and Tamina as the
Yeah,
challenge.
you're
Mhm.
that, and that's some of the in one sentence, like because everybody's trying to rebook because the Raw Women's Championship storyline has been complete utter shit, and everybody's like, I can rebook it in a minute. I can rebook it. Like here's a couple of sentences, and look, I did better. And 99% of the time, theirs are shit as well. But
Yeah,
yeah, like that. That's a perfect. You're the reason I was out. I was hurt. Like
and it even makes sense with the Rumble because if you're saying Becky Lynch was disqualified in retrospect from the Rumble, then Charlotte Flair wins the Rumble by definition because she finished second. Nia
right.
Jax was the one person Becky Lynch eliminated besides Charlotte. And Nia Jax, she'd have perfect reason to say, wait a second, I'm this big, I'm this dominant. I would have beaten Charlotte Flair, and you know it. I have a case for this too. And that would make a perfect reason to say, okay, Becky faces Nia, winner goes into the triple threat. And by an astonishing coincidence, Becky has to slay all of her demons. Nia Jax, the person who broke her face, Charlotte Flair, the person who's always stolen her thunder, and Ronda Rousey, the person who hates her, and it's mutual on this one, in order for Becky to get her moment in the sun. How about that?
Sounds a little complicated to me, Bob.
Yeah,
I was trying to do. I'm not smart
yeah,
voice.
but but
It,
yeah. This,
this was this
continue.
match was bad. Like it really was. This like could you imagine the four of them sitting backstage? Like, okay, here's how we're gonna do it. We don't, and I don't. They probably wouldn't say this part. I'm gonna. Um, we don't really trust you guys as workers. So how about we do this? How about now we're gonna do a couple of spots where all the fuck you have to do is catch Sasha Banks a couple of times. That's all you have to do. Just catch her.
Yeah. And then Tamina,
She couldn't even
meanwhile,
do that.
yeah, that's one of the problems on this one where the worst part is that Nia Jax may be the worst worker than Tamina, but somehow Tamina's more than of the net negative in the company right now. Like at least Nia Jax is really big and you can buy it as, oh shit, how are they gonna beat her? Look how big she is. Tamina doesn't have any redeeming quality for why she's in the company. You can't say
No.
it's because of her size because Nia's bigger. Can't say it's because she's good because she isn't. Can't say it's because she's a long-time veteran threat because she was never booked as a threat. Can't say she's a second generation star because Jimmy Snuka's an unperson now. What use do you have for her?
This match was bad,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean we knew it would be. And
Mm-hmm.
you would think somebody somewhere backstage looking at you, Vince,
Yes.
because they watched this show, on the
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
Gorilla, like somebody somewhere would say, Jesus, fuck, get them out of here.
Yes.
Like, how do you? What was it? I know two for a fact, maybe three times that all Nia was supposed to do was catch Sasha and dropped her every single time. Couldn't catch her.
Yeah.
Like
Honestly,
the best thing about this match was, as far as we know, Sasha and Bailey did not get hurt. Like
yeah.
that's
Ultimately, it says something where this goes past the okay, the Sky Pirates are one of the best teams on the planet, so let's put them in instead. But no one's really heard of them on the main roster, and that would have been a better match. Or even okay, the Iconics are more character, but they're kind of average wrestlers, but they would be better. This goes back to I know that our friend Craig with 5 zeros has been hyping up the possibility of a Dakota Kai and Keegan Knox tag team. Even Dakota Kai and Tegan Knox, with their ACL tears right now, would have put on a better match than Nia Jackson Tamina.
Nicholas, if he has a younger or older sister, could have put on a better match.
Yes. This is just,
Nicholas being Braun Strowman's,
of course.
everybody calls him, that some kid.
Yeah. Yeah, this is ultimately it's just sad to realize when someone's gone past, they've fallen under the value over Mike Bennett scale to they've fallen under the value over someone from NXT scale and into the this person is worse than nothing. The division would be better off having no one at all in it than these two.
Uh, and which we'll get to, I guess, in a minute, but
Yeah.
leads to the what happens on Raw, and oh god,
Mm-hmm. Going into the WWE Championship match, we had Daniel Bryan against Kevin Owens on it, and they did make it a triple threat match again, and it was Mustafa Ali. And this match is proof of a few things. One, they Kofi Kingston has the conch shell. Give him the title. It's time. The fans have proven they wanted it. They had both the people who fans wanted in this one, and they made it clear they want Kofi. And having said that too, Mustafa Ali is a future WWE champion in the making. That guy had the worst possible moment on this one, with everyone ready to boo him for not being Kofi, and he brought those fans back in it because he is that awesome.
yes. Um, for the first 5 minutes of the match, the entire crowd, we want Kofi, we want Kofi, 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 and he legitimately got them invested in the match,
Mm-hmm.
and not just I don't want to say made them forget about Kofi, but he kind of did. Like they got behind him when um, any other time anything he did they'd be booing, or that should be Kofi, or we want Kofi, or Kofi. Like
Mm-hmm.
they 5 6 minutes they got that until he started putting on a show and like, oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. And that's really the good thing on Ali, where he's done that all year in 205 Live on it, where right now, even
Yes,
if the cruiserweight ghetto is something bad on it, it would be a shock to me and a sad thing if Mustafa Ali, Cedric Alexander, and Buddy Murphy don't have their moment in the sun on the main roster. All three of those guys did a miracle work last year in 205 Live, and Ali's the
yes,
first one to get rewarded for it.
and rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm hoping that leads to like I just brought up about people backstage watching on screens, and they can hear, they know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, hopefully people see that as a good sign, not just for Ali, but like, oh, with Buddy and Alexander as well.
Yeah,
Like, hey, that this can work. Like this does it not can it did it does work.
yeah. And ultimately, I think that does make it where Ali won't get the WrestleMania match that he probably was going to get if he didn't get injured. But it wouldn't shock me if Mustafa Ali becomes the first crazy person in there to jump off the ladder to end up getting the Money in the Bank briefcase. And it would be,
I can see that.
yeah, it would be a little bit
I
weird because Ali, it would seem wrong for Ali to cash in surprisingly, but it would make perfect sense.
I think what we're headed towards is hold on, I'm fixing my microphone. So if you're hearing noises, forgive me. But I think we're getting another multi-man match for the WWE Championship at Mania.
Hmm. Yeah. But honestly, I
But
don't know if it's a multi-man match simply because Kofi is pretty much proven he has the conch shell. So, and there's no way you can ruin someone who has the conch shell. Coming up next, we had Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair.
thank you very much.
Yes, this
There's no way. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, there's a way.
they ruined a wet dream here. This was just bad on it. Becky Lynch gets it by Ronda Rousey letting her be in the match. This, are you fucking kidding me? Really?
This went from the hottest thing, and not just WWE, but maybe wrestling, to put this motherfucker on the pre-show.
Yes. This was sad
Just
for more than this. This was supposed to be the match that could get the main event. It probably will still, but they ruined it in just a matter of weeks.
like literally, like just it's like there's a backstage bet or challenge or something of, hey, how quick can you fuck up the best thing we've done in years?
Mm-hmm.
And there's like an over under, like, 3 weeks. And they've my 9-year old, soon to be 10,
Mm-hmm.
even he like loves all three of them. Didn't really like Becky, for reasons I explained on VWP. Was kind of upset about Becky winning the Royal Rumble. Even he like got back into, like, okay, Becky won the Royal Rumble. I can deal with that. Hey, the story's still good, and my 9-year old does not care anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because honestly, like I said, one simple change on this, and this storyline would have been perfect. It would have made ultimate sense on it. And they try to get too cute for it, and it ended up destroying Becky Lynch's character, destroying Charlotte Flair's character, possibly but destroying all of pro wrestling by the storyline of, yeah, Ronda Rousey, the biggest star in the company's whole gimmick is telling you, hey, this stuff is fake. You shouldn't care about any of these people. I'm better than them, and I'd fight these things. It went past full Russo and went to full and went to full Katow there. And all of this for a storyline that could have been done without a question on it. This was just. I can see why WWE got second best at promotion and worst promotion. Because Lord knows they deserved both of them.
But just dumb,
Mm-hmm.
dumb, dumb, dumb.
Yeah. Yes, it says something where usually saying that fantasy booking is the only way that you hate money if you don't do it my way and things like this is the ultimate bullshit that fans do. But a 5-year-old could have booked this feud better to WrestleMania. A trained monkey could have booked this feud better to WrestleMania. I think
An
Russo
untrained
could have booked this feud better to WrestleMania.
an untrained monkey could have booked this better.
Yeah.
And Morris actually did his own, my 9-year old, for those, um,
Mm-hmm.
booked it in a way better. That
Yeah, but Morris is usually
this,
on the ball, so I knew he'd probably book it really well. So
yeah, he, and that's, yeah. Anyway, yeah, this
at
was
least the
bad
main
match.
event was what it was, and there's nothing really to say on it. Where it was the Shield farewell tour versus Bobby Lashley, Baron Corbin, and Drew McIntyre, and it was everything you'd want. When you're going for the farewell tour of a team, you don't want to see something new on it. You just want to see them play the hits, play them one last time, and that's what they did.
Yep, they did all the callbacks. All the callbacks.
Yeah, and that's all you really want on this one, where if it's the final time we see the Shield, it was worth it because you got what you wanted from a Shield match. And that's perfectly enjoyable in its own way, too. It's nothing
Right.
new, but it's great. So going into this one, we have the song of the week beforehand, and but going with the former one hit wonders who had these ones, I had one that not only was going through, but I thought it would also help his Mox here because I know he's been feeling pretty down for the last few days. So it's one that I think I remember would have been similar on it. So at least
Oh
my heart's
Lord,
in the right place if it goes through.
what have I done?
Sometimes I forget that you're not here. Can't believe it's been a year since you flew away and I never got to say goodbye. Good times hanging out till break of dawn, listening to Bob and singing along. Every little thing's gonna be hot. It's gonna be alright. No, 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 you're gonna fly somewhere on the other side. And one day I'ma be there too, with sun shining and water blue. Yeah, I know you're gonna fly somewhere on the other side. I know you're somewhere where you're fighting free, and you'll always be a part of me. Yeah, you'll always be a part of me. Oh yeah, like the moon is to the sea. They say you don't know a good thing till it's gone. But I got to say they're wrong. I knew you were a good friend all along. I wish the world would be so cold as to take such a beautiful soul. But despite it all, you know we gotta carry on. No, 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 you're gonna fly somewhere on the other side. And one day I'ma be there too, with sun shining and the water blue. Yeah, I know you're gonna fly somewhere on the other side. I know you're somewhere where you're flying free, and you'll always be a part of me. Yeah, you'll always be a part of me. Yeah, yeah. That the moon is still. If I could rewind time, well then I'd like to let you know just one thing before your time to go. That every moment you were living was a blessing to me. And I saw inside of you things that others couldn't see. Now people put you down for the way that you live, but those people never knew you the way that I did. Don't be ashamed of who you are or how you died. I know you just wanted to find the brighter side. I know that you're gonna find somewhere brighter on the other side. And one day I'ma be there too, with sun is shining and the water's blue. Yeah, I know that you're gonna fly somewhere brighter on the other side. I know you're somewhere where you're fighting free, and you'll always be part of me.
That was the song "Brighter Side" by OPM. This week's song of the week.
Thanks, man.
No problem. I knew it.
For
Knew this
those
week's
that
been pretty hard on you, so I figured
for
this was
those
an
that
appropriate one to fit the same role.
for those that don't know, my mom passed a year ago yesterday.
Hmm.
Uh, thanks, man.
No problem. continuing on from there on it, we have Monday Night Raw this week, and we have the farewell address of the Shield, and continuing this one where they just Reigns talks about how he isn't promised tomorrow, so if they had the last time match, there's no regrets. He wanted a one-on-one match tonight. Ambrose has his own, and he's plan. They keep continuing with he's planning this not to re-sign in April, and then Rollins has his plan to go after Brock Lesnar, and so Heyman lists the names that he's ready to do, and actually keeps going that Lesnar has trouble with big power guys, but can't work against the smaller guys who are faster paced, like AJ Styles, Bryan, and Balor, which is a good touch. But
Yeah, because it was true.
yeah, and it actually does tell something. It's also weird that Lesnar apparently wants to wrestle those guys and doesn't really want to wrestle big power guys, so it helps things as well.
Yeah.
And then Heyman counters with the other option that Lesnar didn't have the prep time to face any of them. AJ replaced Jinder Mahal, Bryan replaced AJ Styles, Balor replaced Braun Strowman, but now Lesnar has prep time for him, and so of course we go from this to Shelton Benjamin, who was apparently traded to Raw in exchange for the rights to Kevin Owens and Matt Hardy. So I'm assuming the trade was Owens, Hardy, and for Becky, Charlotte, and Shelton Benjamin. Which
That
is
seems fair. That seems we're definitely an NFL off season.
yeah. And it is weird that they're doing all this before the shakeup though, so it does
Yeah, that,
but at least it does help on this one where if nothing else, Rollins made Benjamin look good for the first time in a while, which is also very good for it.
and those that don't get the call back is Shelton came up with Brock. They used to be roommates,
Mm-hmm.
so it worked. It worked on levels that I guess some people forgot or didn't remember of Shelton doing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess basically Heyman or Brock's bidding,
Mm-hmm.
putting Shelton. It wasn't just as random as some people like a random Benjamin appears. Like it was
Well, it's also
underlying
kind
things
of
there
weird
that
on this one because if you have the random Benjamin appears on it, they explained all of this on the show during the commercial break. Really, WWE?
oh
Really?
yeah how so
Really?
yeah where they let's explain everything during commercial when nobody's watching.
Yes. And they put it on a Twitter account, which is mostly used by the IWC, who would know damn well all about the reason why Shelton fits in this storyline.
Yes.
This is just that was just stupidity. That's the type of thing you do want to tell on the main show to
Yes.
explain it.
That's like, and you had ample time to do that. I mean, for one, how it worked, Shelton did a surprise attack. Go to commercial. We go back from commercial, and they say that this match is official. It's Shelton versus Rollins. You had ample time to say it,
Mm-hmm.
before the commercial break or after the commercial break, like the attack and then the actual match. There, it takes 30 seconds to explain, and like you say, like yeah, the IWC, most of them, I will be honest, there's some people out there that didn't, but
Well, it's
like
also
explain it, like
yeah, it's also weird though because even if you didn't know of Brock Lesnar and Shelton Benjamin's University of Minnesota amateur career, you probably know on it just by It's by the fact that they were a tag team in OVW built around their Minnesota career. And
Yes.
even if you didn't follow OVW in 2000, 2001, even the people who are too young to know that would know the dude. Did you know Brock Lesnar can totally do a shooting star press? Here's the footage of it. And that would be, and people would know just because of that and say, wait, Shelton's his teammate there? So it makes perfect sense on that regard too.
And to clarify, we're not talking the infamous shooting star press he did at Mania. Like, dude could legit do a shooting star press.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was doing them picture perfect in OVW during that time. Like
Yes.
better than Billy Kidman's, who was the premier a handsome brunette man who does a shooting star press of the time of 2001. So it was a very nice one to boot.
But it doesn't hurt anything, and it, for those that don't know, like it at least explains like random Benjamin because, and I saw this a lot on Twitter. It was either why is, what does Benjamin have to do with Brock or Heyman? Also, maybe more so was and I'm not gonna do her voice, but I'm gonna do the Oscar meme. He still work here? Like that was.
I think that Shelton probably still does because a veteran who did time in New Japan would be perfect for AEW.
Oh damn.
Mm-hmm. but but yeah, it is. It does have enough sense to make sense, but it ultimately, if it makes Shelton look a little bit better, it kind of worked on that regard.
We already know though that we probably won't see Shelton again
Yeah, yeah,
until
probably probably his main event run and his run to start his time on main event.
yeah, like we might see him in the armbar. That's but other than that, we won't see him.
Yeah. Going into the next one, you had Finn Balor taking on Bobby Lashley after a defense for the Intercontinental title, and no Leo Rush in the corner. So this is another battle for two great performers and attacking on this one. So naturally, Balor loses the title because Leo Rush rings a bell. Somehow, I don't think that was what cost Finn Balor the IWGP title at any time.
This was stupid as fuck.
Yes,
Uh,
this
I
was
get why they did it. Before the match though, when after Seth beats Shelton and Balor comes out and they meet at the top of the stage and they do a handshake, bro hug kind of thing and nod like since Seth is the one that hurt Balor at SummerSlam and the Universal Championship coronation. Um, like that was a cool moment. Just to like, okay, all's forgiven. Like no hard feelings. Sorry I hurt you. Like it was a very kayfabe, but outside of kayfabe kind of acknowledgement of we're cool, we're cool.
yeah, and honestly,
But
that
then
does
we
work
went to this.
where
Go ahead.
there should be some more moments after a face turn or a heel turn where people just say, "Okay, we're cool now. Let's go from there."
Yeah, acknowledge. There's and it just like that. Like it just took a split. You get Balor's entrance and Rollins walking up the ramp. It took literally seconds to acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm.
I need more acknowledgement on TV of that kind of stuff. Like that was perfect.
Yeah, yeah, and that's one of the things. It goes back to the Shelton Benjamin thing. Reward the
Yeah,
fans who's paid attention for all this time, and at the same time use that to entertain and inform the fans who are new of the history of what goes on. Because
right.
that's always the thing that wrestling's never really gotten. They don't get that sports entertainment means that people love the history of the sport. They love statistics when they got them. Heck, that's what made
Right, like
Goldberg
that's
such a star for years because they had a statistic they could hang on to.
as inflated as it may have been,
Yeah, and even
but
if
yeah, that's like we when I say we, like people latch onto that kind of stuff. Whether you're a baseball stats guy or a sports stats guy or just something, and like you said, people that may not have known about the Benjamin Brock connection, um, if they've been on the internet or asked on the internet or questioned on the internet or just looked up, like, oh, now it makes sense, and it just makes for such a better overall
mm-hmm,
um, um, intake. Like just like, oh, okay,
mm-hmm, yeah, and ultimately that's the thing on it where it just goes back to the problem with a lot of this and indie rise on things where they're trying to make wrestling too exclusive so that you had to know all of this, all of this, all of this in order to get
yeah,
why everybody's there. But no, it should be, oh, you don't know about this? Here's some information you should probably learn. You should be
yeah. Tell
really
us about
about
it.
this.
And when I say us, like again, some people know, some don't.
Mm-hmm.
Don't leave the people that don't know in the dark. Tell
Mm-hmm.
it, say it. You
Yeah.
can, and you can definitely bring that up without breaking kayfabe because it's outside of kayfabe. But you bring up that he's a wrestler from Minnesota and stuff all the time,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not breaking kayfabe to the degree of like using shoot names or what. Like say that in a microphone where it's there's no question left of why it was Shelton all of a sudden. But anyway, yeah, this I was gonna go on a Mox rant.
Mm-hmm.
I've
No
already
problem.
done it twice, and this fucking bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And ultimately, that's one of the things where it seems like they're prepping it for a WrestleMania match, which is fair. And they have started using Demon Valor in this. So it looks like we're getting Demon Valor versus Bobby Lashley. And that's a cromulent match. So,
Well, my sources say, my mock sources say, the reason they put the IC title on Lashley here is because there's no more Lashley Corbin, what's his face, as a Drew McIntyre.
mhm. And
That way
I
we
don't
get Lashley as singles, and we move on to Drew and what's his other face against Dean and Roman at WrestleMania.
Well, like I said on these ones, I don't really have any sources on this, but I do have a dad who works for Nintendo, and he told me that the reason that we're getting Demon Balor versus Bobby Lashley is prepped to have this one. Plus, you also have the return of Bray Wyatt as Sister Abigail to get revenge on Bobby Lashley for not really loving his sisters.
Oh Lord!
Yeah. And of course, he has to be right. If you work for Nintendo, of course you are.
Oh wow!
And
But that's and my sources can only confirm 95% of the tag match, but that's why they put the belt on Lashley was to get him away from the Drew,
mm-hmm,
the trio.
yeah,
Like so now he can, but it's still stupid as fuck.
mm-hmm,
Why would? Mm.
yeah. Well,
Sorry if you can't tell, I'm a Balor mark, and it does even get
they're splitting
go
up
ahead.
the match where I think they originally planned it was going to be Reigns, Balor, and Angle versus Corbin, Lashley, and McIntyre, but it does look like they're splitting that match into three so that you have Lashley with Balor, McIntyre with Reigns, and Corbin gets Angle's retirement match. Which is not good, but it seems to work.
Yeah, I almost threw up a little bit in my mouth.
Yeah. That's the problem when you have the sources of people who work for Nintendo, which is why I get all the best sources on the schoolyard. Which ties into this match is Ronda Rousey whines at the fans for telling her she deserved to get beaten up with a crush. Attack on this one, and she's going to go and destroy all their fans on it. And from my source of my dad who works in Nintendo, we find out that Dana Brooke died and was replaced by a new person.
Oh God.
This was
You're the worst.
yes. Well,
You're the worst.
yes. That's the problem on this one. The one thing I love about the Dana Brooke thing is not the fact that people on the internet are stupid enough to believe a woman who's not wearing makeup is a different person. And that's clearly what it was. Dana Brooke simply wasn't wearing any makeup at the time. The real problem was it's 2019. We have an internet that gives you all the information you could ever want at the touch of a fingertip. It's right on your computer. And if you don't have that, it's right on your telephone. And if you don't have that, it's right on a lot of your game consoles. And somehow people still believed this wrestler totally died and they were replaced by a clone rumor that was on every schoolyard in the 1980s or 1990s for, oh yeah, the Warrior's heart exploded and he was replaced by a Kerry Von Erich, or oh, Scott Steiner's heart exploded and they replaced him with this random new guy, Big Papa Pump, or there's 5 or 10 Canes or stuff like that. We should be away from that stuff now. We should know that Dana Brooke is the same woman she was before, just not wearing makeup, and yet people believed she was a different person. You fucking dumbasses.
And the funniest part about all of this is the lady that started that replied to a fucking Food Network post with that shit, and somebody screenshotted it and retweeted it. That's the funniest shit. And kept doubling down of, oh, that was, when I say funniest, like I mean the least funniest. Like that's just absurd. Like
yes. Why do you
that.
respond with that one? And why do you think the Food Network cares about that? In defense, I think the Food Network was owned by my local paper for a long time, and so they probably were trying to get, oh yeah, totally use this so that we can get the real info that some Dana Brooke died and was replaced by a clone. But that would be too smart for the person who started this.
And that's just, dude. I had for um, Monday night, late Monday night to Tuesday morning, just had to, and I even tweeted at Dana because there's article like that was Ronda's best promo. Like, okay, shit still smells like shit, but that was Dana Brooks' best promo she's ever done.
Well, yeah, and that's really the thing because Dana Brooks always been in the point where she may have come out of NXT a little bit too early, but it's been about 2 years, and traditionally when they had a woman wrestler who was a little green, it takes about 3 years for them to truly make the leap. So
yes,
I can buy that Dana Brooks is going to be very good this year, sooner rather than later.
Yes. Of course, like everybody, like even the best wrestlers ever in the world, like could practice and use some work, but she's not quite to that degree. But that promo she cut on Ronda, like that was everybody like, oh, that Ronda's best promo to date. Look, and I'm sorry, Dana's promo completely overshadowed
Yeah.
Ronda's.
Yeah, even just
Com-
calling it Dana Brooks' best promo to date is selling it short because that was a good promo.
right? Yeah. And if I sold it short, I didn't mean to. Like, it wasn't just a great promo for Dana Brooke. That was a damn good promo, no matter who.
Hmm. Yeah, and ultimately that's really the thing on it, where it's Ronda Rousey may have been the one who was there to look good, but Dana Brooke was the one I was talking about after that match anyway. I think that whoever
Yes.
Dana Brooke on this one is the clone may be really, really good.
You're, damn it, SK.
Yes.
Damn it, Greeny.
Hmm. Going into the next one, we have the surprise that we haven't seen it yet of Aleister Black and Ricochet against Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, and it was what it was. It was pretty much straight and forward, and it's ultimately weird on it where this might be the same thing as the the bar that we talked about earlier for teams that were allied together on it, where just like the bar, they finally had the Cesaro babyface turn, and it was that everyone had been longing for 2 years, and it was as random as possible in the oh yeah, just happened, who cares, with the with Kid and Cesaro turning face randomly. Likewise, I think that's the same thing. Since his debut in WWE, people were waiting for him to turn Bobby Roode heel, waiting and waiting and waiting, longing for it. And it looks like they finally made the heel turn in a completely random tag match for no apparent reason.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing here is they took too long. Where I can't speak for everyone, of course, but like, nobody really cares about Bobby Roode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can even tell, even before the tag, when he started teaming with Gable, like the whole glorious thing. Nobody in the live audience does that anymore. There might be a few people, but it's not like it was like glorious. Like, nobody
Yes.
does that. Like,
Yeah, and ultimately that's really the problem on it, where his gimmick was devolved from Bobby Roode in TNA was a dynamic, awesome character. In NXT, Bobby Roode was a dynamic, awesome character. In WWE, his gimmick is he has a theme song, like everybody else in the WWE has.
yeah, well, he has a theme song and a pulse. So
Yes.
he's a warm body.
Yep.
I'm hoping and hoping and hoping, um, beyond hope, that this leads to better things for Gable,
Yep.
whether
And
it be singles or tag, or because Gable's the hidden diamond in the rough there.
yeah.
When I say hidden diamond, you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
he's the one that whatever they end up doing with Gloriable, whatever they're calling themselves, like it's Gable that
Mm-hmm.
should
Ultimately,
come
the
in it.
problem on it was if they're going with Corbin, if I was doing it, I'd say give Chad Gable the match against Angle. It would be Angle could win the match and it wouldn't hurt Gable, but it would be a good he's passing the torch moment, and that would be perfectly acceptable.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then for after that, we had Alexa Bliss with a moment of bliss and announcing the host of WrestleMania, who was bigger than Kim Kardashian, bigger than The Rock, bigger than the New Day. So of course it's Alexa Bliss herself. Well, on the plus side, it means she's not in the Snickers bar. So,
Yeah.
mhm. But yeah, it is kind of weird how you'd be excited to host the show when they don't give a host an actual match. But at the same time, there's not really any good matches for Bliss out there, and pretty much every face on it. When the best Alexa Bliss WrestleMania match would be Alexa versus Dana Brooke, that's just not a WrestleMania match. And even if Brooke is on the rise, it's just that match just isn't WrestleMania worthy yet. And coming up after this one from the hype up for WrestleMania, we have a giant toy commercial. There's no nice way to put this segment except a giant toy commercial. Braun Strowman attacks the SNL guys. The SNL guys give him a car for a really nice sports car from the SNL correspondents, and then Strowman destroys the car for no reason.
Sir, you better put respect on Camaro.
Yeah.
Sports car.
Yeah.
That's a Camaro.
Well, sponsored by Mattel, makers of the brand new playset where you can have Braun Strowman beat the crap out of a nice looking red sports car, just like
Camaro, sir. Camaro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I'm a Camaro mark. So.
Yep.
But yes, it's identical. They're same. This was literally a marketing ploy. It's the same damn thing. If
Yeah.
you don't know, look, Braun Strowman, wrecking, and they spell it WREKKIN, wrecking toy or wrecking car. They literally did this to move merch.
Yes. And that's the bad thing. At least they covered it up when they were doing all the wrestle in a shark cage matches, which were clearly sold for the shark cage playset. But
Yes.
this was just blatant. And this is what Braun Strowman is doing at WrestleMania. Let the record show Strowman was willing to be the backup in case the Roman Reigns his steroid rumors were true last year and team up with a 10-year-old. At this WrestleMania, the following people are more likely to be on the WrestleMania main show: Nia Jax, Baron Corbin, Tamina, Natalya, Shane McMahon, possibly the Iconics, possibly Sky Pirates from NXT. They are all more likely to be on the main card than Braun Strowman is. That is disgusting. Strowman's year last year on it was the ultimate. You owe this dude a good match this year. You just owe him one for being the backup for some Roman and ending up with nothing to do at WrestleMania. There's no other way around it. They owed this guy one, and they didn't pay up with it. Now what he's doing as a storyline is he's got a feud with the guys from Weekend Update.
In fact, Fastlane broke Strowman's pay-per-view streak.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just I hate using the joke, but I would see if I was Strowman, I'd see if AEW was interested. That's not just making the joke about everybody should go to AEW. I'm serious. Strowman might be AEW ready now.
They've Strowman's booking since SummerSlam of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of even before then, but this ties back into the simplest thing we can do. Let's fuck it up the best way possible. Let's really fuck it up, and that's Strowman.
Yeah. This is just weird on it. Like, I'm not saying Strowman's a surefire main eventer. He's always seemed to me like the modern day Sid Vicious, where if he's one of your top guys, it's a good thing. If he's your best guy, you've got problems. but this he deserves better than this, really.
Yeah. Um, Main eventer, no, I could. He should have had at least one, if maybe not two runs, since he's on Raw, and that's where the Universal Championship is. Or if nothing else, like even if it was not that belt, like maybe the IC like something of relevancy, but they're just
Yeah, ultimately, I
and,
think
and, what they do is so bass backwards, where they get like, oh, he can flip an ambulance, he can destroy a car, he can't win a match.
yeah. And ultimately, the worst part is that even past the Sid comparison, the best guy I'd compare him to right now is Kane, where he's clearly a star. He's clearly one of the big names in the company, but at the same time, for some reason, they just don't want to go all the way on him. But he's just good enough that it's either all or nothing. Like you couldn't have Kane wrestle for the Intercontinental title. It's either he's fighting for the world title or he's just treading water. And that seems like Strowman right now, where he's too good for the Intercontinental title, but he's just not good enough for the Universal or WWE title.
And that's just sad. And but even then, Kane, whether it's his entrance or um, Kane was somewhat of an attraction, where Braun is even his Braun, like that's kind of becoming boresome.
Yep. And then we have nothing of importance by Elias and No Way Jose, and we have the announcement of the next Hall of Fame entrance, Harlem Heat. And honestly, it's kind of weird to me on this. I'm not going to say that Stevie Ray doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame because, well, Harlem Heat as a tag team was a very good tag team there, but at the same time, the two-time Hall of Famer on this one. Before this year, Ric Flair was the only person to go in twice to the Hall of Fame. This year, Shawn Michaels was going to join him. And there were rumors for a little while that Bret Hart would join them as well. Not sure if it's happening or not. That's Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Booker T. And I like Booker T. I thought Booker T was very good. He had one of the lowest variances in performance in wrestling, where you couldn't know if it was a good or a bad match. But even then, one of these things is not like the others. One of these things just doesn't belong. One of these things is not like the others. And that's really the problem, where Booker T was a very good wrestler, but right now, at this moment, two-time Hall of Fame inductee is basically saying you belong on the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling. And Booker T was very good, but he wasn't Mount Rushmore worthy.
And I like Booker, but I agree, like that's, and I liked Harlem Heat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the only thing that I can justify it with in my head for the multiple Hall of Fame rings is trying to distinguish, singles and tags or factions, or
Mm-hmm.
like that's the only way I can try to
Yeah. Ultimately, if
just just
it
wait until they start, you know, doing Triple H and all his, solo and all his factions.
well, that's even the weird thing because Triple H is low key someone who had a Mount Rushmore worthy debate. So if he got
Mm,
multiple ones, no problems there. It's just ultimately, book Harlem Heat is a good Hall of Fame induction, but not this year or on it. Let a few more
yeah,
inductees come in before you put Harlem Heat in. It's just like it's a good honor, and they were a very good tag team, but Booker T isn't good enough for a two-time Hall of Fame induction in 2019. Just wait
yeah.
until more people have gotten the two-time Hall of Fame inductee, and it doesn't mean as much as it did where it's only Flair and Michaels who've had it this far. Because
Right.
Booker T was good, but he's no Ric Flair and he's no Shawn Michaels.
I'm happy for Stevie Ray.
Yeah, he was a
Uh,
good tag partner, a great member of the B team in the NWO, the greatest tag faction of all time, and a early leader of the Yaks Revolution.
I mean, I and think that's what you're saying is like Harlem Heat deserves to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not this year, especially who they're at least so far not including this year.
Yeah,
I get.
and then we have a random Natalia Nia Jax match for 34 seconds, and it looks like instead of Sky Pirates, we'll be getting Beth Phoenix and Natalia, which is perfectly straightforward.
Divas of Doom.
Yep.
Oh,
Oh, what?
sorry. You said Natalia and Beth Phoenix.
Yeah, the Divas of
Yeah,
Doom, of course.
yeah.
So,
Divas of Doom versus Natalia and or versus Nia and
mhm. Yeah.
why? Why?
Well, I think that you've got a few different things on this one where you've got the evil monsters, the plucky baby faces, the comedy team, and now you've got the roller derby stars. And I don't feel
Oh
bad making
Lord.
that joke because Beth Phoenix and Natalia openly said they took their image from roller derby, so it's fair enough. And ultimately, that's if that's bad, you should see the next match. Oh yeah, people, get ready. You've got an angry, daddy as fuck guy, Triple H. This big blonde some bodybuilder coming in street clothes looking for someone. And then you get Batista, a nose ringed, badass daddy dressed up like Brendan Urie here. He learned from Triple H and his old queen, Ric Flair. He's getting what he wants. You want to give it to him. Give it. You don't want this. You know what I want, Hunter. Oh, I know what you want. Give it to me. No, oh, you don't want me to give it to you. Give it to me. Oh, I don't want you to give it to you. Give it to me. You know you don't want me to give it to you. Give it to me. You want me to give it to you? Give it to me. You want me to give it to you? Give it to me. Oh, I'll give it to you all right. Yeah, give it to me. No holes barred. No holes barred. Give it to me. Oh, give it to me. Give it to me. Oh, give it to me.
The following segment, or the previous segment, has been brought to you by Pornhub.com. And if you're having trouble, BlueChew.com can help you out there.
Yes. I don't think Pornhub.com works on this one, where this segment was less by WWE and more by Rough Trade Magazine. This has somehow broken the Hulk Hogan versus Abyss, where Hogan gives Abyss his Hall of Fame ring angle for the most. Is this match wrestling or is this match gay porn in pro wrestling history? There's
I,
no
I,
way to
I
put
was
it.
legit confused. Like, if I would have had my eyes closed and, like, trying to doze off, like, Oh shit! Did I accidentally turn it on to porn? And Morris and my wife were watching. Cause good lord, the promo back and forth.
Honestly, the only thing that makes it even worse on this one is having your eyes open and knowing it's being done by two large bodybuilders saying all this stuff. That
I
goes
was waiting for the Spice Girls to come out. Like, tell me what you want, what you really, really want. Like, I always, since they're apparently returning or whatever, or reunion
yes.
for tour. Like,
Shortly after this, because of course it did. This was just you're waiting this long for a match with Batista Triple H, and this is how you build to it. This is, I mean, we all tried to politely ignore that Evolution was Triple H with his young twink Randy Orton, his old queen Ric Flair, and his Chelsea clone Batista. But this is just, you can't not make the joke. I know it's 2019. I know Gillette, the best men can be, but this is just too easy. It's just too easy to ignore. I'm sorry. I know I need to be more progressive, but they're just asking for it here. Really asking for it. Give it to him. You know you want me to give it to him. Give it to him. This is just so bad.
it does not help with Triple H's gravelly promo voice. Like, it doesn't help at all. That like this was horrific. Like
At least it's fair with Triple H's delivery on it, because at least with him, we all know he is by a lot of things, and lingual isn't one of them. So,
uh, and you just took something bad and made it worse.
yes, but that is honestly, this is the thing that we want more of in wrestling. This wasn't bad because it was a bad angle or a bad storyline. It's just unintentionally funny. And that's what wrestling's
Yes.
supposed to be. It's not supposed to be mocking it because your favorite's not the champion or because you hate the storyline. It's supposed to be, this is so stupid, it's terrible, and it's so stupid and terrible that it somehow goes over to being good again. This was a bad promo, and yet they should have sent a poet. This is the benefit. It's like last week's cereal Battle of Breakfast cereal, which also helps this week since they did sign alongside Robbie and Stokely Hathaway, the son of Hondo the Honeybee, so they have that plus to it as well. But those are what wrestling's about. The stuff that's just unintentionally funny, and that's why it's so beautiful. And then we have from there, and this funny one, a serious one, as Kurt Angle announces he's going to retire at WrestleMania, but he wants one more match in Pittsburgh. And it was a perfectly natural Kurt Angle versus Apollo Crews match. And it was what it was, but at least it was a solid match. Apollo Crews got to check something off his bucket list. Is what it is.
Yeah. Decent match, and the ending was better, where they hug and whatnot,
Yeah.
and of course, in front of Pittsburgh, the crowd's gonna
Yep.
eat that up, and
Mm-hmm. And then we have Baron Corbin, Roman Reigns, and McIntyre and Corbin that jump Reigns. Reigns is beaten down by McIntyre, and we get Ambrose versus McIntyre. Anything goes, falls count anywhere, which is probably not a good idea. And this just goes goodbye, Dean Ambrose. Fare thee well. because this is clearly him being written off.
Nope. I already told you what my sources say.
And it's viable, but it seems a lot like this was the goodbye angle for Dean Ambrose. I could possibly see him at WrestleMania, but more than likely, this seems like that's the moment where they said Dean Ambrose is done with the WWE. It's probable that we're getting Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, but it is what it is, and it's a solid way to send off Ambrose.
I like the whole Shield thing in the back of all three of them caring about each other, like Dean and Seth, like caring about Roman, and Dean's like, man, I'm just here to make sure you're okay, and Dean's like, fuck that, I care about you, but I'm gonna go kick their ass. Like, who did this to you? Let me find out, kind of thing.
Yep. And that's honestly this good one where that's what we need from wrestling, some more actual relationships. And it,
Yeah,
it's always good with the Shield that you always get that once one turns on the others, it hurts the other two people. But then when they're willing to get forgiven, it's okay. It's like nothing ever happened, man. Welcome back. And that's the type of thing you want from wrestling more. But that was basically Raw and on to SmackDown, and it was pretty much Vince and Shane all week on this. And Shane opens things up, and makes the ring announcer refer to him as best in the world because they're finally returning to that storyline. Remember, he won a match at Crown Jewel, and that makes him better in his pinky finger than Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada are in their whole bodies. Take that,
hey,
Observer Awards.
you beat me to the punch.
Yep. So, and then you have Shane actually saying that he's tired of Miz meeting everyone. He has to go through, and he stopped, so he finally got something, and making it clear that Miz versus Shane McMahon happens at WrestleMania. And honestly, it's pretty interesting. Where well, we know Shane's going to wrestle at WrestleMania, and Miz Shane could
Again.
be pretty good. So it is what it is.
Um, can we I'm not really quite certain who Shane's dad is, but can we since Mrs. Dad is involved, can we get Shane, Miz, and their dads like in a tag team, or somehow work it during the match? Where it escapes me who Shane's dad is, but
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know on this one. Do you think the milkman in Stamford, Connecticut would be able to be hired on short notice?
oh my lord.
Well, honestly, it is weird on this one where it's obviously a joke because we know it's Shane and Vince versus Miz and his dad, but at the same time, Shane looks less and less like his father and more like Bill Simmons every day of the week. Are we sure
Why
they're
would you?
not the same?
Why would you put that image in my head, sir?
Yeah.
Why would you? No, Consuela, no, no.
Well, at least it's better than if it was Stephanie in the role when we could mock Donald Trump there. So,
Oh my damn.
but then you have Aleister Black, Ricochet, and the Hardy Boys versus the return of the League of Nations. And it was, well, it's nothing to speak of because it was just going to be what it is, and it's just a good match. You knew it was solid, but there's probably stuff going on for it, and no big deal.
Yes. Just that happened kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it was good, but it's nothing you have to really talk about for the most part. That's really the thing with a lot of these multi-man matches, where it's not like it's bad, but it's meh. And then we have the prep for apparently another match for it where it looks like we'll be getting Black and Ricochet, Hardy's, Bar, Nakamura and Rusev, Usos, and New Day. So it would be interesting if Black and Ricochet go after the revival instead. So that's going to be weird as well. Then we have Randy Orton and AJ Styles competing basically for what Styles and Orton did, as Orton is the WWE star and Styles is the indie darling. And honestly, it's pretty good on this one because this is actually low key a really compelling feud in the matchup. You don't need
Yes.
to, and this is the example that's the problem with Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair. This is the example of Kiss, rock and roll all night and party every day. Or is it keep it simple, stupid? I forget which one.
Both.
Yeah,
Why not both?
exactly. But that's really the thing on it, where you don't need to have stuff that's going for anything else. All you need is AJ Styles is the face of the indie scene for the last 2 decades. Randy Orton was a great star in the WWE for 2 decades, and that makes perfect sense. And it'll probably be a really good match to boot.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I know people shit on Randy all the time, and sometimes rightfully so. But Randy's still really good to great, and I know the thing that gets brought up is motivated Randy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like
and that's
we
really
and
where even with motivated Randy or not, Randy's been pretty motivated for a lot of this run, so it's not like
yes.
it's going to be a problem there.
To
And he,
interject something real quick, is it kind of weird that we literally have um two excuse me, two shows each
mm-hmm.
before go home shows and WrestleMania, and we don't have a full card for WrestleMania.
Honestly, I think it's weird because it seems like a lot of stuff has been rewritten and rewritten in this one, so I can see it being there for it because it should be a final chapter, but it feels like they're willing to ask it and see what people want and what people don't want. So it's
Right, but usually at this time, like, and I know there's speculation and there's like some things are kind of obvious,
mm-hmm,
but we have two Raws and two SmackDowns
mm-hmm,
left before WrestleMania. So we have two Raws, two SmackDowns, and then the go home shows,
yeah,
and that's it.
mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the biggest problem on that one would be that once the world title scene's done, the rest of the show falls into place, and this time we have the fact that Kofi exploded and no one could have seen that coming. So I can see it being a little bit looser this year because of that. And then
Which will probably work better in the end.
yeah, and ultimately that's weird on it where it does work and it just goes through. And for more
Sometimes,
stuff of them,
if you're doing weekly TV stuff, like flying by the seat of your pants doesn't always work. But sometimes flying by the seat of your pants actually is the better thing than what you spent all this time planning.
yeah,
If that makes sense. Like sometimes
it's also
more spontaneous. Go ahead.
well, this one's also weird because you could fly by the seat of your pants because a lot of times with the say the Zack Ryder or the Daniel Bryan situations in the past, it was always like, we want this guy. Are you sure? We want this guy. Well, we're willing to meet you halfway, but are you sure about this? Give us this guy. You're sure you don't want someone better, someone with a bigger name? Fuck you. We want this guy. Okay, works for us. We'll do it. And usually it takes a little while. Like, it took over a year for Zack Ryder to go from the first Z True Long Island story to get to the frenzy of TLC 2011. It
Yeah.
took Daniel Bryan about 8 to 9 months before WrestleMania 30. With Kofi Kingston, it's happened within about 4 or 5 weeks to go from just another tag team guy to give this man the WWE title. And
Yeah. He went from pancakes to I swear to fuck if you don't put the title helmet mania, we're gonna riot. Like
yes,
literally in a month span.
yes,
Excuse me.
and that
Sorry.
honestly does make it a little bit more straightforward because you have to honestly. This one's more seat of your pants because it just dropped into an explosion so quickly, and
Right,
that's
and that's
probably Kofi Kingston's always been so beloved on this one. Even if this
yes.
one didn't happen, he probably would have gone down as this generation's Tito Santana. Again, high praise here. But this just exploded him from always the bridesmaid to we're ready to marry this guy and we want the ceremony at WrestleMania.
And I'm gonna drop a name here, and please shut me down if I'm out of line. But you dropped a name, I'll drop a name. Ricky Ricky Steamboat.
I could honestly, I could see it in some ways on it because Kofi's always basically been the good guy on it, and even in the early heel stage of the New Day were still kind of the New Day. They were just doing it to faces instead of heels, but even then, Kofi's always been weird because everybody liked him, everybody thought he was good, but no one was ever going to say Kofi Kingston is the best in the world either. And with Ricky Steamboat, people were willing to say this guy's one of the best performers on the planet. But with someone
Right.
like
That's
Santana, he was always, yeah, he's good, but he's not the best.
right. Um, if nothing else, I wanted to say Ricky Steamboat. But
Yeah.
yeah, we. But if we would have been mid '80s, late '80s with Ricky Steamboat and having Twitter and internet and stuff, and the most Ricky Steamboat ever got was IC title matches, and like I could see hashtags galore for
Yeah.
yes, he we're just talking about WWF and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And going from there, you have this another one of the seat of the pants ones with Asuka versus Sonya Deville, and she slips on a banana peel as well. And same thing happens as at Fastlane. And now you have Sonya and Mandy fighting on it, which is what it is.
Yeah, yeah, it's
And then and from there you go with more stuff for the women's tag ones as the Iconics actually appear on SmackDown for once. So that helps to build up the storyline for the women's tag picture. And then we go with Becky Lynch says she's finally at WrestleMania and says it was a problem because she couldn't play mind games on someone with no brain, which keeps up the this has gone to some E-Fed bullshit between Rousey and Lynch now. And there's no nice way to put it. Like, ever since the Twitter feud started a couple weeks ago, this has gone past this is Twitter stuff to build up a feud and into we're at E-Fed level right now.
yeah, just dumb.
Yeah, it's just like two people who just hate each other. They're willing to destroy the whole thing in order to get each other, and now you've got to choose. And basically now you've got this. but at least Charlotte's showing why she works here because she's actually keeping it on the rails somehow. People wondered why Charlotte was added to this when this is the point. She's willing to be a heel because she's a bad person, but also a bad person in storyline. She's not willing to just say, "Screw you, I hate it. It's all fake. It's all fake. I'm the only good one here. Screw these others." When say, "No, this is still a storyline. Me and Becky are still gonna fight Rousey for this," and go through there.
Right.
And then we have a tag match between Ray and R-Truth versus Joe and Andrade, and it was also meh, which is something that sometimes you just have to say meh to it. You have Owens and Mustafa Ali versus the Planeteers or Straight Veg Society, and that one was also, it's starting to work, but it's just another match prepping for the big one.
Yeah, that was the definition of killing time.
Mm-hmm. And then we get what everybody wants to see, more McMahons. And then you have the stuff with Vince saying that nope, it was the fans heard what they want to hear because he never said Kofi was getting the shot, which is kind of interesting because that is a lot of storylines right now of the fans heard what they want to hear.
And technically, he wasn't wrong.
Yeah. You got Biggie saying that they did everything they told them to, flew around to India on his orders, never threatened to leave if they didn't get what they wanted, and they wanted Kofi to get a chance. Vince rants about that, and Biggie says that there's nothing, this is bigger than anything except my ego. And Vince says, hey, there's nothing bigger than my ego. Xavier keeps going on it, and one of the pluses for all these ones, Vince says that Kofi deserved to do all these things, but he'll be in the Hall of Fame as part of New Day. And in one of the coolest callbacks of it, having Daniel Bryan call him a good B-plus player, which should have been Elias in Seattle level bullshit, because that's a good Bryan's become what he hated moment.
Yes, that was a very, very good, like you said, callback. That was
Mm-hmm.
a very, like, onions have many of layers. That was a very good layered dig.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's really the case where right now you have Kofi just dancing around it, but they did it the right way when Kofi says, I've done everything and I've always never complained, even though you've never let someone like me compete for the WWE title, which also helps on it because you're not ignoring it's kind of totally racist that there's never been a full black WWE champion, but also you're not making the feud about racism. So that was a very
Right.
smart decision by them as well.
Subtle, but to the point.
Yeah. And then you get the same one of that we get the still of Orton, Joe, The Bar, Rowan, and possibly Daniel Bryan in a gauntlet to get his title match, which is interesting on it. And this basically saved the show on it, which is really good for it. Sometimes to make good pay-per-views, you need these just chill moments in the promos.
Yeah, there's a difference in killing time to the pay per view that is throwaway, and then there's like this match that you're killing time, but serves a purpose kind of thing, and
Yeah.
that's what this match did.
Mm-hmm. And ultimately, that's this week in SmackDown. So, hope until then, next week, this is Whacked Out Wrestling. I'm Thomas S.K. Green. With me is Prince Moxley Lopez, and hopefully we'll have all hands on deck next week.
Peace.